So today I am going to introduce or revisit two of my Korean friends that was on my podcast. One was John In and one Hanju. So basically, what they have done is that there's a couple interesting lessons. I would say one is focusing on doing things, how to pick your career trajectory in terms of location, in terms of where to go. From that perspective, another one was focusing more on how to get out your creative outlets to make sure that what you're doing is also very good going forward. So there's a couple of nuggets. I'll definitely give you that preview. I'll kind of revisit their conversations. It's definitely pretty good. If you're interested in the longer term, I will also show that in some of the areas when they are playing the previews. So feel free to check those out. Just want to reintroduce them. Pretty good people of Korean descent that I want to showcase during this Korean themed video series.
My name's John Ng. I'm a partner and we are financial planners in the wealth management industry. I actually didn't start off my career in financial planning. I graduated from Cal with the degree in economics, and truthfully, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, right? So I started off my career in the equipment leasing industry, and I was doing sales is what I was doing. And as I was doing sales, I really didn't like what I was doing, but I was learning a lot, and what I was really learning was perseverance. So I was in telephone sales. I was making like 80 phone calls a day, and then one day I called a guy. My territory, by the way, were probably some of the most exciting places in America. You might have heard of it: New Jersey and Arkansas.
Oh, so very exciting!
Really, a lot going on out there. But anyway, one of the guys I called was a CFO of a hospital chain in Arkansas. And his name was Rusty Youngblood. I'll never forget his name. And he said, he's like, boy, you kind of sound young. And I was like, well, Rusty, you're very perceptive. You're right. I am young. I just graduated from college. And since you're calling me out, let me ask you a question. What do you do for a living? I have no idea what you do. And he laughed at me and he said, I'm the CFO of a hospital. I'm the guy you called, right? And I was like, yeah, but what do you do? And he knew I was young, so he kind of shared with me. He's like, I do manage the finances for this hospital and da 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 da. And I was like, that's awesome. And I said, how'd you get into it, right? Kind of like you're asking me. And he mentioned this thing that I had not heard about, and he said he was a CPA. Right? And I was like, cool, Rusty, where do you get that? And he was like, no, you don't get it. You have to earn it, right? You have to take an exam and etc. I'm like, okay, how do I do that? And he's like, okay, what kind of degree do you have, right? And he kind of gave me some advice. So the 3 pieces of career advice he gave me was, he said, 1, pick the place you want to live. He said it's easy to change jobs. It's hard to change where you live.
Wow.
The second thing was, he said, look, this was like in the late 90s. He was like, look, the economy is great right now, and you may not think it'll happen to you, but he's like, trust me, I've been around long enough. Recession is going to happen. I don't know when, but it'll happen. So you want to be in a big industry in the area you live, because when the recession happens, those guys will have jobs, the other guys won't. It's like, wow, that's super interesting. So I said, I know I want to live in LA. I know entertainment is one of the biggest industries in LA. I want to go into that area. And he said, the third thing, CPA, he's like, look up your state license board, right? Like, figure out how to get it. I said, okay, fair enough. So, I went back, took some accounting classes, and I got a job at an accounting firm that focused on entertainment accounting.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I started off in audit, got my CPA there, and then, I kind of spent my time around account. Like, I always knew, like, I wanted to be around money and finances. I just really couldn't figure out what it was. So I worked at this accounting firm, got my CPA, and then I went into private industry. Uh, I worked at MGM for a little bit, and then I worked in banking for like the next 10 years. And the funny thing is, every time I took an accounting job, George, it wasn't really to be an accountant. It was so I could do something else.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was always like, no, I'm just gonna do this for a couple more years, and then I'm gonna open a taekwondo school or something, right? Like I just want to pursue my passion. So it was never like meant to be a career, but I ended up spending like 14 years in it, right? And then everything kind of changed. So my last official kind of position in accounting was I was a controller for what's now part of like Wells Fargo's corporate and investment banking group. And I find myself working a lot, traveling a lot, and my wife and I were expecting our first child, and I realized I would probably miss a quarter of his life just in business meetings and travel. And knowing that about 80% of the FaceTime you have with your kids happens in the first 18 years of your life.
Yes.
I was like, I can't miss a quarter of that, right? So I said, there's got to be something else I can do. There's got to be something better out there for me. And when I thought about it, I really, because I'd spent so much time in accounting, I didn't know what else I could do. And so I said, this might be a good time to take a pause in my career and go back to business school. So I went back to school, went to get my MBA. And when I was there, my goal was to disrupt myself, to say, just throw caution at the wind, and which is a very un-Asian thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Like be completely irrational and just be curious, right? Just try as many different things as I can to figure out what I want to do for the rest of my life, right? Because that was my goal going into business school. It wasn't to learn more finance or which I did, and all that, but it was really to figure out the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And when I was there, I met the CFO of Abacus, who had a very similar background and experience to myself. And he said, how would you like to do all that stuff you love about accounting and finance, but be appreciated for it? And my initial reaction to him, not like I didn't say this, but I thought it was, you're lying. Whatever you just said doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I've been at Abacus now 5, going on 6 years now, and everything he said is true. Everything he said is true. So how did I get into financial planning? That's kind of the how, but the why is a little different.
Okay.
So I told you when I was in business school, my major goal was to disrupt myself.
Yeah.
And I had a big aha moment when I was in business school. And the aha moment was this. I said, every job I had up until that point, you could argue that my career projection was successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
But every job I pursued was for the wrong reason. I realized it was for the wrong. I just went for the money. Whatever would pay me more. Oh, this job's gonna pay me more. I'll take it. This job's gonna pay me. I'll take it. Double my pay. I'll take it. Right? I don't care what it takes. Right? So I made every decision based on money and title and career progression. The things you think would look good on a resume. And in business school, I realized that was the absolute wrong thing, and probably the biggest reason I was so miserable, right, for like 15 years of my life.
Thanks for having me. So my name is Hanju. Like you said, I'm a current senior at Washington University in St. Louis, studying psychology of all things. Like you said before, I'm the founder of Asian Creative Network, which is an online Facebook group that is dedicated to bringing community and networking to Asian creatives all over the world. I created it because I wanted to create a space for Asian creatives, and I think that it has been a really crazy ride, so I'm excited to talk about it here. Background has always been kind of in the creatives, particularly it's kind of like a family lineage because my mom actually used to be an opera singer, and but when she decided to move to America to immigrate here and become a stay-at-home mom and grow her family, she decided to kind of quit that. She tried to keep continuing by joining choirs or trying out, but it never really worked out for her. And so I think there was already a sense of, for her, like her creative dreams kind of dying, her trying to push us away from the creatives, because she saw herself how she sort of failed in that aspect and didn't bring in money, all those sort of things. And so, yeah, kind of having that family background, but also all three of my siblings being very interested in the arts, having a ton of friends that are in the arts, I think it all just sort of encouraged me and led me to this place where I thought, like, yeah, why can't Asians have these sort of opportunities? Like, why do we have to be in this like very strange space? Like, can we not chase after the things that we want to do? Can we find a community? Can we band together? And when like the subtle Asian traits wave started coming in around a year and a half ago, right? Like that whole craziness happened. I decided in that page to ask people about it. I just made one post in it where I was like, hey, where's all the creatives? Like, let's talk, let's like chat, let's exchange Instagrams. Like, I want to hear your stories. And within 10 minutes, there was like hundreds of comments and hundreds of people being like, oh my God, I'm an Asian creative, I'm a graphic designer, I'm a UX UI, whatever. And that's where I was like, okay, like there's an opportunity here, let's jump on it. So I made the group, had no idea what I was doing, but first day, 9,000 people joined. Dang, maybe my story isn't so foreign. Maybe my story is something that a lot of people share. Maybe not exactly this story, but the kind of immigrant story of having parents that want you to have success and, this kind of weird cultural identity of doing things you want to do, better life, like all the things that we know are very nuanced and complex. It seems that, yeah, a lot of people in ACN definitely feel that message. For like the reason why she thought her own career was a failure was because she wasn't able to provide financially for her family. She kind of came to this new country with only a music major, and she felt that, yeah, she just couldn't really do things for me and my sister and my brother growing up. But I think in terms of my own definition of success and failure, I think that I like success. Not necessarily like, oh, how many stickers can I sell or how much money can I make or how many listeners per week, but it's really just like, how do I feel about myself? Like, do I feel like I'm chasing things that I want to? Do I feel like a person that is really kind of self-actualization, like really doing the things that I know make me feel alive, make me feel like a person, make me feel like I'm chasing things that bring a positive force into the world or into my life. So I think with ACN, our main goal isn't to, get the numbers or like, oh, we're going to teach you how to be like the next, whatever, like you're going to be on the next set of Crazy Rich Asians or something like that. But it's more, how can I connect you with people and connect you with opportunities where you can, maybe it might be small, maybe, to the world, it's not going to be much, but then to you, it's something important and it's something that's worthwhile in doing. I like to think of myself as kind of a jack of all trades is not the right word. It's more just like I like to put my tentacles in all trades, and so I love like growing up. I always was really into crafting. I think physical manipulation of objects was always in my thing. So ceramics, like sculpture, crafting, painting. I was really into sewing for a while, so I would sew for hours and hours, like dresses, my own shirts, et cetera, et cetera. I loved recently trying to get into digital art. I also really like creative problem solving, and so just thinking of like innovative ways to look at new problems and kind of fix new things. So in that aspect, I've always loved just sitting in a room and like doing things with my hands and like putting things together and like be it like puzzles or like IKEA furniture or like working with clay or anything like that. I think that's where a lot of my heart is. And for my sister, she loves cooking. She is definitely more to cooking, writing, photography. My little brother loves animation and gaming now. That's very much like the 12-year-old boy space of like anime gaming, all that sort of stuff, which is really cute. But yeah, so I think in general, like all of our interests have always been in something more creative than anything practical.